Hello, welcome to this, that, and the other. If you see me bouncing around, I'm sitting on one of those big bouncy balls, which is very comfortable for me. So I just wanted to bounce around. How are you guys doing today? I wanted to drop in and just talk about experiences that I have had in my life. And I think I'll probably make this a series of things that a 61-year-old has done or over 60 has done throughout their life. And one of the things I was thinking about were the different jobs that I've had. I have had a lot of jobs over the last 40 plus years. One of the first jobs I ever had was working, I think it was either at the junior college or was that Wendy's. I think it was Wendy's. I worked at Wendy's. I think I had just turned 18, graduated from high school, and worked at Wendy's for a couple of months there. And that was a really interesting job. I was a sandwich maker. That was my first job. I was so proud. I remember my mother and my brothers would come and, order food from the restaurant. And I was so proud. I was like, yeah, my family's coming. They see me working. I was very proud. That was my first job. I was a sandwich maker. I was great at that job. As a matter of fact, I was only going to work there for the summer. And when it ended, the guy was like, would you like to stay full time? Is there anything we can do to make you stay? It's like, we can move you to a different position or whatever. It's like, nah, I had no intention of staying at that job forever. Uh, and sometimes though, I wish I had, because that particular manager at that office ended up being a district manager within 5 years. And I was thinking about how much money he was making. I was like, I could have been a manager and I could have been a district manager. But anyway, it was one of the best Wendy's in that particular area where people took pride in what they did. And we had like the most people come for lunch. We would have a lunch line like practically out the door. That's how good we were. So yeah, that was my first job. I think the next job I had was in the office of a junior college. I'm not going to say the exact area at that school, but I worked in this office. It was a work study job. And think I was about still 18, maybe going on 19. And I worked with these women in the office. And mind you, I had never worked with just, in a regular work environment with just grown women. And so there were these three ladies there. There were two that were probably about 30, and then there was this one older one who was in her 60s at the time. And I was like the little young person coming to the office. And I think these women took pride in shocking me with their worldly ways, because here I was, 18 or 19, didn't know a lot. And I would like listen to them talk about stuff. And I was like, oh my God, people do that? One woman had her man on the side. I forget what she used to call him, but he was her man on the side. She always talked about him, and she was married now, but she had this man on the side, and she would always talk about him, what they did last night or what they did, whatever. And I was like, wow, I was shocked. And then the other lady also had her little sugar daddy on the side, and she would be telling me stuff, about what they did and all this. And that, mind you, I'm impressionable. I'm like 18, 19 years old. I don't know about this kind of stuff. So I was like, women do that? So it's like, okay, something to put in my mind there, that that's something we do. But I did never do that. So, but anyway, that was a very interesting job. I was only there for a short time, thank God, because after a while, I mean, I just thought they were pretty trashy. Personally, I thought they were trashy. One of them was really trashy, and the other one was just kind of not very bright to me, but that's just me. Let me see, what's the next job I had? I think after that, I decided to go in the military. Let's see my little plaque back there. I think I went in the military after that, and I was stationed in Panama City, Florida, which was all right. It was all right. But I was in a field that they had just kind of opened up to more women. So I was in this wave of new women coming in, and it was predominantly a male dominated area. So when I got in there, the guys really they didn't know how to act. And they actually put us in the dorm with these guys. So that was interesting. Um, I will say that the roommate that lived next to me and my other roommate in her room, in her dorm room, was a wild woman. The things over here at night, and it was just not ordinary stuff. It was like somebody called fire department kind of stuff. She would be over there moaning and yelling and screaming and doing all kind of crazy things. And my roommate, it got so bad. My roommate used to put a pillow over her face, over her head when she tried to sleep at night because she was so sick of that woman's cries in the middle of the night. And I was like, she didn't have to be that loud. I think she did it. I don't know why she did it. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I was in Panama City for a while, and then I went up to Alaska. Alaska was really nice. Still in the military. Was in the service up there. Had a nice little run. Got out. I got married, then got out, and then I worked um, at a daycare. But before the daycare, I had applied for this job up there, and it was like one of those tour companies, whatever. And the person's like, "Oh, we really need help," and blah blah this. And so I go and I apply for this job, and I get the job, and I go in the office, and the lady's going to show me around. And I get in there, and I walk in the door, and there are papers all over the place. I mean, when I say all over the place, I mean all over the place. And the woman's telling me, she's like, "Oh, well, I'll need you to organize this stuff. And you can bring your child with you. At the time I had like a 6 month old. She's like, you can bring your baby you know, and help, you know, you can bring your baby and you can work here during the day and you leave at 5 o'clock and we're only going to pay you this much," which was not very much. I smiled. I was like, yeah, this is great. Y'all, I never went back there. The next day came, I was like, no, not doing that. I don't even know if I called the woman. I probably did, knowing me. Tell her I can't do that. That was crazy, crazy. So anyway, I got me a job working at a daycare, and it was a corporate daycare. It was back when they had corporate daycare, because now these cheap corporate don't pay for that kind of stuff. But I worked for this corporate daycare, and their executives would bring their children there. Executives come fur coats, just looking, fabulous, and their child would come in with these snotty noses, looking like homeless children. And I'm like, okay. We had one child that was so sick all the time, and the parents never took the child to the doctor because they were big executives and they had to go to meetings. They didn't have time to be taking their own children to the doctor. One child had so much phlegm, it was just like it just started to come out other parts of his body. I just never seen that much phlegm in my life. I thought the child had tapeworm. Anyway, and then we had somebody at the daycare get fired for pushing the baby's head down or doing something rough with a kid. And I was like, why? Especially where we worked at, because there's like these huge windows and there's an apartment building right there. And so, she's pushing the baby's head down to make him take a nap. And I guess somebody in the apartment saw it and reported it. So she got fired. So, anyway, that's just some of the interesting jobs that I've had. I have more, but I'll talk about those a little later. Just wanted to drop in and, let you guys hear about some of the job experiences I've had.